I was comfortable with facing judgment because of Jesus Christ saving me, His purchase price of blood for me. I had that confidence, but I don't think I had that relationship with Him. It was an intellectual confidence, and I was okay with the passing, but knowing that my family would go on without me was almost unbearable as I sat there in that car. My name is Clyde William Hinds. Those who know me call me Chip, and this is my transformation story. I thought I was the perfect example of a disciple of Christ because I believed in Jesus Christ and His provisions for me. Little did I know what that night would mean to me over these next 30 years. That evening I had on my three-piece suit. I was on my way to a wedding in a big Buick and was attending the wedding of one of the employees that I supervised when the accident happened. And this drunk driver hit me head on at a closing speed of approximately 120 miles an hour. And fortunately, we both survived. I knew I was injured because I could hear the bones rattling, but I didn't know how severely. I didn't know I was blind. I didn't know I couldn't breathe. I was feeling no pain because my body was in shock. I knew this might be my last day. Within moments, probably seconds, 4 men arrived who had just left a classroom earlier that day. Their topic of training for that day, respiratory trauma of accident victims. They loosened my tie, one of them ran his finger down my throat, put my broken palate back in place, moved my teeth around, opened my airway so I could breathe, and I could talk when they took me to the Indian hospital. From there, they life-flighted me to a hospital in Tulsa where they called in a reconstruction specialist. He had gained experience rebuilding Vietnam vets after they had been injured in war, some stepping on landmines, etc. He had experience in rebuilding faces, which is what I needed most.
They took us into the chapel when we reached the hospital because they didn't expect him to live. You know, and whenever they was wheeling him out to fly him to St. Francis, I saw the back of his head, and we could tell that he was in pretty bad shape. My name is Mary Hinds, and I'm Chip's wife.
All this time, the doctors were telling my family that I wouldn't make it, that I would probably develop infections as sinuses leaked into my cranial cavity, and that I would surely pass.
When we get to Tulsa, my mother-in-law's with me. I see his face. It looks like a smashed tomato with bones in it sticking out.
I spent 2 months totally blind, breathed through a trach for 4 months, had my jaws wired shut for 8 months, was off of work for 6 months.
His aunt drove me up to the hospital every day to be with him during the day, and his mom stayed with him at night. And I would, whenever I was at the hospital with him, I would lay our little baby down beside him because he couldn't see, and he could touch her. And his face was just so messed up. Had a glass embedded in his face. And the only place I could give him a kiss was on his forehead.
We ran out of money because of the expenses of such an injury, and the company I worked for mailed our paycheck every pay period. I received it right on time. Even that wasn't enough with all the added expenses, and local churches would send their offerings. Individuals would drop by with money. It was never too much, but it was always enough.
It was tough on the family for a long time, and I'm thinking, how are we going to survive? How are we going to pay our bills? He was the breadwinner.
And the Lord provided. No bill was left unpaid. No hunger was left unfed. All our needs were met. Over that period of time, my wife and family and I, we learned to trust in God for His provisions.
You can see God's hand in all of it. Healing him of different things. And the only thing that He didn't fully complete was Chip's eyesight.
We'd had so many miracles, we were coming to the place where we were simply living by the miracles, the Lord's provision. And it was true. Nothing happened to me, no ill effects whatsoever. Those things are all encouraging, but our human minds tend to forget sometimes. And as my eyesight didn't come back for almost 2 months before I could see anything, I began to wonder, where was these miracles of God that I had trusted in? When would my eyesight be restored? When would I be able to go back to work again?
But thankfully, he was able to have a little bit of eyesight, and he was able to watch our baby daughter grow up.
But I have to be honest with you about that. Inside, there are times that I was wondering, was there a measure to it? Is it over? Have I received all of the marvelous things that are going to happen? Am I supposed to just now live with the rest of this? You see, the pain didn't come those first 2 hours because my body was in shock, but it did come. And it's been with me ever since, for 30 years. What has happened out of this experience is, while I believed in Jesus Christ, I truly did. He saved me. I had that confidence in Him and His power to save me. Through the incidents and experiences of this wreck, rather than destroying my life, it enhanced it, and I learned to trust in Him. I believed in Him before, but now He has transformed me into a person of trust, a person who is dependent upon Him for all of our material needs, for all of our spiritual needs, for all of our relational needs. Everything we need, the Lord provides.
Well, you kind of take it for granted. You go to church all your life, you think you're doing okay, but sometimes God has to use drastic measures to bring you back. And He, I guess, transformed me too, in that experience. Made me a better person, to fully trust in Him. Sometimes God has to do that, to get your attention.
Before the accident, I was in sales. Sure, I had an education and could be in many other areas, but I liked that. And it really helped me, because He opened my eyes that what He had for me to do was to sell for Him.
I wouldn't trade anything for the experience that we have now. Sure, all those other glamorous things in the world are nice, but that's not what's important. It's what God wants you to do. And the job He has now, it's a blessing to everyone, and I see so many people And I've seen people's lives touched from it.
I serviced a couple of thousand accounts as a salesman. But as a servant of the Lord, thousands upon thousands of people. Even though I was active in church before and had at least a profession of faith in Jesus Christ, He now called me into ministry, into service, to serve Him. It was something I've never experienced before. It was like a burning fire that says, this is what I want you to do with your life. I spared you for a purpose, and this is it. And He's transformed me to this place where I realize it's Him doing it and not me. The Lord revealed Himself in me as He transformed me into His servant, into more and more of the likeness of Jesus Christ. And now, after the accident and many years of transformation, He's manifesting Himself through me as He glorifies His holy name, as He edifies the church, and He lets the light of His gospel shine forth into this dark world.